Right then, you've got a cement works on your patch and an inspection's coming up. You need to be sharp, know exactly what you're looking for, and really understand the framework you're working in. So think of this as your field guide. It's designed to walk you through all the key points before you even set foot on site. Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for this briefing. We're going to start with the rulebook, then we'll get our heads around the process itself. After that, we'll do a virtual walkthrough of an inspection, check the numbers, review the paperwork, and finally, we'll bring it all back to your crucial role as a regulator. First things first, let's talk about the legal basis for your inspection. The document you really need to know inside and out is the Process Guidance Note 30112. Honestly, just think of this as your definitive toolkit for regulating these sites. So this guidance is your primary tool. Its entire purpose is to give you a consistent framework for applying what's known as Best Available Techniques, or BAT, as you'll hear it called. This is all about making sure that operators are doing everything that's practically and economically viable to prevent and control local air pollution. All right, let's move on. To inspect a process, you really have to understand it, right? So let's get a quick high-level overview of what's actually happening inside that cement works. This flow diagram shows you the basic journey. It all starts with the cementitious materials. That's things like cement or ash being delivered and blown into those huge silos. From there, they're weighed out with aggregates like sand and gravel. Then, depending on the order, it's either mixed with water for a wet batch, or it's just loaded dry, straight onto the mixer trucks for delivery. Simple as that.
And here we are again with this absolutely crucial acronym, BAT. It's not just about having some dust control. It's about having the most effective and advanced methods that are viable for the industry. This is the gold standard you'll be measuring the entire site against.
Okay, now for the practical bit. This is the absolute core of your site visit. Let's break down the physical areas of the plant where you need to focus your attention, your eyes, and your questions. We'll structure our little virtual walkthrough into 3 key zones. First up, where the raw materials arrive and get stored. Second, how they're moved around the site. And third, the general state of the buildings and roadways. Right, step 1. Everything kicks off with a delivery tanker hooking up to the silo. This is your first, and you could argue, most significant point of potential dust emissions. A mistake here? Well, that can lead to a massive, very visible release. This is your boots-on-the-ground checklist. You've got to look at the connections. Ask to see the alarms being tested. Check that pressure relief valve on the top. Is it nice and clean, or is it caked in set cement? And have a good look at the filter housing. Can you see dust leaking from the seals? A poorly maintained filter is a major, major red flag. And don't just look, ask. Posing a direct question like this tells you a huge amount. A really competent operator will have a clear, rehearsed answer. They'll know the testing frequency, they'll know the exact steps a driver has to take if an alarm goes off. If you get hesitation, that might suggest a lack of training or proper procedures. Okay, so the material is safely in the silo. Now what? Well, next it has to be moved to the mixer. This is where conveyors come in, and they are a classic source of what we call fugitive dust emissions. Look for the simple stuff. Are there covers or windboards on the conveyors? At the transfer points where material drops from one belt to another, is there an enclosure? Look underneath the return belt. Is there a scraper cleaning it, or is it just dropping little bits of dust all the way along? Piles of spilt material are a total dead giveaway of a poorly maintained system. And finally, let's just zoom out and have a look at the site as a whole. Dust doesn't just come from the main process. It comes from poor housekeeping, vehicle movements, and just general site management. Good housekeeping is absolutely non-negotiable. Look at the state of the roadways. Are they paved and regularly swept? Or are they just covered in a layer of dust that gets thrown up by every lorry? Check for spillages. And critically, is there a wheel wash, and is it actually being used? Preventing dust from being tracked out onto the public highway is a really basic requirement. So, you've finished your physical walk around. Now it's time to head into the site office and have a look at the data. This is where the operator proves their controls are working by showing you their monitoring records. This table simplifies the key limits from the guidance note. And notice, it's not all about numbers. The first 2 are actually visual checks. No visible emission from silos, and nothing crossing the site boundary. These are simple pass or fail tests that you can judge with your own eyes. Then we get to the numerical limit for the main dust filters.
And this is the magic number, 50 milligrams per cubic meter. This is the benchmark for most of their dust arrestment plant. Like the filters on the mixers, when you review their monitoring reports, this is the number you are going to be checking their results against.
Now, this is vital. You have to understand the records they show you. They'll have two types. Quantitative is the official compliance test that gives you that number in milligrams per cubic meter. Indicative monitoring is different. It's more like a continuous sensor that just shows a change. It acts as an early warning alarm for the operator if a filter bag starts to fail. Both are really important management tools. You know, a shiny new filter is absolutely useless if it's never maintained. Effective management systems and a clear paper trail are just as important as the physical kit on site. This is where you really verify their competence.
Be sure to ask to see these 4 key documents. And don't just ask if they have a maintenance program, ask to see the written schedule and the records showing the work has actually been done. Same goes for training, who's been trained, when were they trained, and what did it cover. This paper trail proves whether their environmental control is systematic or if it's all just guesswork.
So, we've walked the site, we've checked the data, and we've reviewed the paperwork. Now we bring it all together. This last part is all about your authority and the fundamental purpose of your role. This quote right here, it gets to the very heart of your power and your responsibility. The guidance note is exactly that. It's guidance. It is not a rigid set of rules. It confirms that you, the regulator, make the final judgment call on what constitutes best available techniques for that specific site in its specific location. Your professional judgment is paramount. So, as you walk away from that site, this is the ultimate question you have to answer. It's not just about ticking boxes against a guidance note. It's about looking at the whole picture, the plant, the management, the location, and deciding, is the operator doing enough to be a responsible neighbor and protect the air quality for the community I serve? That's the job. Good luck with your inspection.